Hello, Miss Luna. Would you like to say hi to everybody?
Welcome back to my channel. So originally I had wanted to film this life update and Q&A video a month ago when we first moved here, but I figured it would probably be better to film it after spending some time here so I can give you guys my opinions on the area that I'm living in, my new base, etc, etc.
Hi, Luna. You want to come down here?
It wouldn't be a video without a Luna interruption. Golden retrievers, they don't know how to give you space.
Here, lay down.
Good girl. Sometimes when I sit in like a straddle stretch, Luna likes to sit in between my legs, and that's what she's doing right now. Hi, and she loves her ears being rubbed. And let's get into the Q&A. Okay, so the first question is, will I have a PO box here? Yes, I do have a PO box, and I think in my last few videos I've been putting it in the video description box. If not, then it will definitely be in the description box of this one. How was the drive? I heard of the I-95 collapse. So that was really scary, the I-95 collapse. That happened before I drove out here though, so it didn't really affect me. I think they fixed most of that before we drove out here. The drive was long. It was about 22, 23 hours. It is a long time to be driving in a car, but we made it safe and sound, and that's all that matters. This isn't really a question, but more so a request. I would love to see a day in the life of your new city. I think that would be a really fun video to film, and I have a feeling a video like that I would probably film in the fall when the leaves are changing. Like, I think a fall day in my life would be really fun where we can go explore Doylestown, like the downtown area, because that's where we're living. In the fall, I think it would just be so pretty. And then I can make like a fall meal. Okay, yeah, I have that video all in my head now. What book am I currently reading? So I just finished reading The Serpent and Wings of Night, and that book was really good. It's a fantasy book. If you're a huge fan of Twilight, A Court of Thorns and Roses, From Blood and Ash, and The Hunger Games, then I would highly recommend this book to you. It was pretty much like an adult version of The Hunger Games, but it also had vampires in it. So right now I'm reading Six Scorched Roses. I literally just started it. I think I read the first like 10 pages last night, and that was it. And that is a novella, so it's a short novel in between the two main books of that series. And so the next book in that series is called something about the ashes and the star-cursed king. I think that's what it's called. So I'll read that one next. But yeah, that's all just kind of part of the same series. How does it feel to move to a new state, and what will we miss about Texas? So it feels very interesting to move to a new state. Right now, I think we're still stressed. We're doing a lot better, but it still kind of feels very chaotic because, for example, I need to go get my driver's license changed over to Pennsylvania instead of being a Texas license. I need to get my car registered here. We're still in the process of finding like a dentist and just random stuff. Like, I just got my car insurance switched over, so that's good. But there's just a lot of little things that you don't realize go into moving states that you just totally forget about. And I hadn't moved states in like 5 or 6 years, so I forgot about all of the little stuff that you have to do. I will say that I like it a lot more here than I do in Texas. I like how green it is. I like the area as a whole more. I like the scenery of it. I like the weather a lot more here. It's not nearly as hot. We'll see how winter goes though, because I know that might be a completely different story, but we are very, very, very happy here. No, it's okay. There's a mailman that just drove up, and Luna can sense that they are here. No, don't bark. I know you can sense that they're here. You don't have to bark. She acts like such a guard dog. Luna, can I get back to my Q&A? She might be better off if I let her go downstairs with Eric. What will we miss about Texas? So we're definitely gonna miss the food. Personally, I'm going to miss my best friend Tiffany. Moving away from her was honestly the hardest part of the move as a whole. I cried the day that she came by to help us pack and say goodbye. That was really, really, really hard, but the good thing about it is we're both flight attendants, and so we can both fly to see each other, try to meet up on layovers, and thank goodness for FaceTime as well. Do we eventually plan to rent or buy a place of our own? Yeah, we definitely plan to eventually buy a place of our own. I don't think we'll ever rent again. I personally don't ever want to live in an apartment again if I can help it, just because it was really stressful with Luna, always having to take her out on the leash and worrying about other dogs. And there was one night where I took Luna out just to do like a quick loop around our complex and go to the bathroom, and this dog was not leashed up, and he ran up to her and started barking really loud and started borderline attacking her. Like, I thought he was going to attack her, and so I was screaming at the owner, and they just like didn't really do anything, and it was really, really terrifying. And I remember that night going back into the apartment, and this was before like our life pretty much got turned upside down, and we decided to on a whim make this move. I had told Eric, I said, once our lease is up, like, we need to find a house, or we need to find somewhere else to live, because this is just too stressful. And also the specific apartment that we were living in, I feel like nobody ever picked up after their dogs, even though you're supposed to, but I feel like nobody ever did. And so Luna was constantly like rolling around in that and probably eating it, and she got more sick living in that apartment complex surrounded by so many other dogs than I have ever seen her. Like, I feel like at least twice a year she had like a scary vet medical visit, and it's just terrifying. Obviously, when you have a dog and you need to live in an apartment complex, like, that's fine. Like, you do what you gotta do. Obviously, we did it, and there's no shame to that. There's nothing wrong with it, but it is way less stressful living in a house with no other dogs around us in comparison to living in an apartment complex with so many dogs. So I do feel like when the timing is right for us, and we honestly have no idea when that is going to be, we will buy a house. How do we like the weather here in comparison to Texas? So we like the weather a lot better here. It is not scorching hot, which is amazing. It's definitely going to be very different this winter, obviously. Eric grew up in Colorado, and I lived in Colorado for 5 years where it snowed and I drove in the winter, so we're used to it. I'm used to living in very cold weather. Also, Texas gets that snowstorm like once or twice a year where all of the roads are completely shut down and it is super dangerous to drive. You just kind of gotta pick where you live. I feel like there's pros and cons no matter where you're going to live. How is the adjustment to living with in-laws? So honestly, it's been fine. I get along great with Eric's parents and vice versa. Like, he gets along great with my parents, and we all love each other very much. But I feel like too, it's going really well because Eric and I do have our own space downstairs now, so we still have that sense of independence and that sense of like living on our own in a way, even though we're still living in Eric's parents' house. So we see his parents daily, obviously, but we can still have our own space too, which is really nice. What I will say is that when the timing is right for us to buy a house, we will probably stay here in Pennsylvania. Honestly, I can't see us moving back to Texas, and I can't see us moving anywhere else. Going off of that too, why I don't see us moving back to Texas is because it just felt like a stepping stone for us. Like, in a way, we were there, but we never knew if we wanted to stay there. Like, we had contemplated moving to Florida, we had contemplated moving back to Colorado, but I didn't want to commute for work. So that is ultimately kind of like what kept us in Texas. And then we had considered, like I said, moving to Florida, and then I would be a Miami-based flight attendant, but it is so dang expensive to live out there that we just didn't really feel like it was right for us. I am just much happier as a flight attendant here. It's hard to say because it's not that I was unhappy in DFW, but the trips are just a lot different here. I like them a lot more here. My seniority is a lot better here. I have a lot better chance of getting international flights here. It's hard to explain when you're not actually in the airline industry, but for me, this base just fits me so much better. And I was getting so burnt out in DFW with those trips, and I just feel in my heart so much happier here. And I feel like I have so much more potential here, having better seniority and more availability for better flying. So career-wise, it just feels so much better for me in terms of like flight attendant stuff, and then also YouTube, because I get to bring you guys to cooler destinations, longer layovers. I'm more excited to film. I just feel more like myself. I don't even know how to explain it, but I just wasn't feeling like me. And I'm sure you guys can relate to that. Like, when you just know in your heart and soul that something doesn't feel right and you just don't feel like yourself. And that is like kind of the rut that I was starting to get into in Dallas. And since coming here, I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders, and I'm excited to go to work again. I'm looking forward to my trips. I'm excited to film again. I have so much like creativity going on in my brain again. It feels fantastic. And yeah, like you guys, I'm just really, really happy. I also saw some questions about how we are feeling after the move. How are Eric and Luna doing? So we are doing really well. Luna is adjusting great. She has so much fun getting to go outside and play frisbee. She has so much more space now, which is awesome. And she is just constantly surrounded by us, by Eric's parents, and by his other family members that live in the area. So she is just constantly surrounded by love. I think Eric and I are adjusting really well here too. Luckily, his job is work from home, so he was able to move out here as soon as he needed to, and he's been able to continue his career here. And I'm just so grateful that my airline had a base here, because if they didn't, I would have had to either commute or quit. And that would have been like a really big life-altering decision that I'm just really grateful that I didn't have to make. So yeah, but we are doing really well. We're very happy here and very excited for what the future holds. I also kind of have to laugh because someone on Instagram asked if Eric and I are still together. And yes, of course we are still together. We are happy. We are in love. We are obviously very, very much together. Just because he's not in every single vlog, or just because we don't take selfies and post pictures every single day, doesn't mean that someone is not together. What school did I go to become a flight attendant? Okay, so this is actually a very big, I don't want to call it a misunderstanding, because I feel like there's just not a lot of information about there on it, but to become a flight attendant, at least in the US, there is no school for that. And anything that advertises itself as a school, in my opinion, is just a scam and a money grab, because it doesn't guarantee you a job with the airline. It's sort of a very interesting process. So to become a flight attendant, you apply on the website, and then you are invited to a virtual interview. You have your interview, and then you are invited to an in-person interview. And then at that in-person interview, you will either get like the yes or the no. And if you get the yes, that means that you are invited to their training, and that is where you train to become a flight attendant, is that airline's specific training course. And then once you finish that training, you are then a flight attendant for that airline. Now, I know with private aviation, so working on private jets and stuff like that, the process is different, and there are schools for that specifically, but that is just a whole other ballgame and a whole other genre of aviation. And even that, there are still like only very specific courses and stuff that you can take to become a private flight attendant. But just to become a commercial flight attendant, do not give your money to any of these places that claim to be flight attendant school, because that's not actually how you become a flight attendant, at least in the US. And I would just hate to see someone use their hard-earned money towards something that's not going to actually guarantee you a job in the aviation industry. How did I feel during my last trip based as a DFW flight attendant and my first trip based in PHL? So I definitely felt very nostalgic on my last trip as a DFW based flight attendant. It kind of just felt like a really big chapter of my life coming to a close, but I was also really excited. Yeah, I just kind of had like all the feelings. And then going into my first trip, I was really nervous. I felt like I was a brand new hire flight attendant again. But then as soon as I like signed in at the airport and actually like got on the plane and met my coworkers and everything, it was totally fine, and I had no reason to be nervous. Some of the trips that I am really looking forward to being a Philadelphia based flight attendant are all of the different European routes that I can get, which you guys should stay tuned, because I have some very, very exciting trips coming up. I'm not gonna say where they're to. You guys just have to wait and see, but yeah, they're really awesome. I also posted the question box on Instagram yesterday, but I know that not everybody has Instagram, so I'm gonna answer those questions here too. One of them was, what is my favorite show? My favorite TV show will forever and always be Game of Thrones. I love Game of Thrones. Daenerys Targaryen will always be my favorite female fictional character, probably of all time. Have I ever had any memorable conversations with a passenger? Yes, I've had several beautiful, meaningful, and inspiring and sad, heartbreaking conversations with passengers before. So to name a few, I held this woman's hand while she was grieving the loss of her sister. And then another woman, I prayed with her while she was grieving and also just praying to find her missing son. So just to name a few, and as a reminder that people are not always traveling for fun and exciting reasons. You never know what someone is going through, so just always be kind. What do you do with books that you finish reading? Do you keep them, donate them, give them away, or sell them? So I view my books as like my little babies, and I have to hold on to them. I don't ever want to give them away. So I keep most of them. I will give away some of them if I didn't particularly love that book, or if I have a friend who wants to borrow it, for example. So like I have definitely donated books in the past. Now I mostly read on my iPad or my Kindle, and I only buy the physical copy of a book if I really like the cover. So obviously if I am buying the book because I really love the cover and obviously want to read the story, I'm gonna want to keep that book. Do you have any good and clean book recommendations trying to get back into reading? Okay, so I wrote this on my Instagram, but I'm assuming that by clean, you mean like not explicit, no cursing, no gore, like no bad stuff, like just very wholesome vibes. And if that is the type of book that you're looking for, I have a few. The Collected Regrets of Clover, Once Upon a Broken Heart, A Dog's Purpose, and One of Us is Lying, which is a book series. All right, you guys, so I think that is going to be it for today's video. I really just wanted to have a chill, sit down conversation with you all about how life is lately, about us moving here, starting my new base, and just what's been going on. Stay tuned for exciting travel content coming your way. I am really looking forward to the trips that I have coming up, and I'm just really excited to bring you guys with me. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give me a big thumbs up. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you have any other questions, please put them in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer. I hope that you all are having a fabulous day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.